Hi guys, Drew back again with Princess Craft RV, and today we're going to be walking through the appliances and accessories on the Bushwhacker 10SS by Braxton Creek. As always, we're going to start right up front here with the loading and unloading procedure. This camper is going to ride on a 2-inch ball, so we're going to make sure that your vehicle is outfitted with the proper ball and drop. We are then going to use this jack to either raise the coupler, about 3 inches above your ball, just enough so you can go ahead and scoot underneath. Go ahead and center yourself underneath the coupler. Of course, go ahead and run that jack back down. Once you are fully seated, you're going to use this slide latch. You're going to lift up on it slightly and slide it all the way forward. What you're looking for is that you do have full engagement of these two tabs on the frame. So you want that sitting nice and flush there. And then you're going to go back with a secondary pin. Go ahead and pin that coupler into position. That way it's not going to rattle loose on you going down the road. From there, your tow chains are going to be crossed underneath the coupler, hooked onto the tow vehicle's receiver. Something like that. You're going to want to make sure that these do not make contact with the pavement at any time, and also that they are crossed underneath the coupler. Riding right next to those tow chains is going to be your emergency breakaway cable. It is very important that you do have a third or a separate connection point on the tow vehicle for this cable. This is essentially your last line of defense. If your two vehicles were to become uncoupled, as they separate, this is going to act like a ripcord to the electric brake system, essentially locking up the camper to avoid a runaway camper scenario. And then also a very important part of your tow components is going to be your 7-way wiring here. This is going to plug into the corresponding receptacle on your vehicle. This is going to give you full function to your tow vehicle's marker lights, tail lights, charging system, as well as braking system. Hopping up here, we have your 20-pound propane cylinder. Very easy, open and close valve on the top. If you need to remove the cylinder to be serviced, you are going to go ahead and loosen this wing nut up. With that tension band relaxed, you disconnect your pigtail here, and then of course lift your cylinder out to be serviced. Directly behind that, we have a brand new Interstate deep cycle battery. This is going to be a maintenance-free battery. However, if you have a lead acid battery on there, remember that every 90 days you're going to need to physically pull off those vent panels and refill with distilled water as necessary. Moving on here, on the driver's side of the unit, we do have a solar port here. This is a direct connection to the battery, designed for a portable solar panel. It is going to give you full function of that solar capability. So the idea being is that you make a plug-and-play connection here, directionalize your panel out away from your camper, and you can, of course, still take advantage of that solar. Lug nuts and tire pressure are a very important thing to talk about. You can take a look or take note of your tire pressure here on the data tag. It is 50 PSI. That is the max tire pressure rating that you're going to find on the sidewall of the tire. And that's exactly where we want to run. So we're going to, again, maintain that 50 PSI tire pressure. And also lug nut torque is very important. We want to keep these lug nuts torqued at 100 foot-pounds. So every manufacturer has a re-torque procedure. The first 15, 25, 50, and 100 miles of initial travel. It's very important that we are checking those lug nuts to make sure that they are maintaining that 100 foot-pounds of torque. We have your potable water fill here. This is how we're going to fill that onboard water tank. We're going to stick our drinking water hose in the orifice here. We are going to fill till we're satisfied. Of course, we cap it back off. And we do need to use that built-in 12-volt water pump to go ahead and pressurize that system and draw that up to the fixtures. Right next to that, we have your 30-amp, 110-volt power supply. Now, this is only going to plug into the camper one way. If we go ahead and take a look at that receptacle, you have 2 slotted prongs and 1 L-shaped. If we line everything up properly, it's going to plug right in. We give it an 1/8 inch turn to the right, that locks on. Then we do have a secondary collar here to screw down, lock in further. We also include a 30 to 15 amp reducer that's going to help power the unit off a standard household receptacle. This will work well for that. If you want kind of an upgraded version, it's not a bad idea to use a dog bone style reducer, which is just going to separate these two ends by about 12 inches worth of cord. And then below that we have your propane burning Dometic furnace. Only big thing with this is, of course, keep that free breathing. We don't want to put anything up in front of it. And also, this is susceptible, because it is a propane burning appliance, to the intrusion of mud daubers and flying insects. So it is very important that we do go ahead and screen this off with an aftermarket screen to keep those those critters from nesting within the appliance. So here on the rear corners of the unit, we have your stabilizer jacks. These are very important to go ahead and stabilize the unit overall. It's going to keep it from moving around, keep it from feeling like you're sitting on a couple tires, or in this case, potentially from tipping over backwards. You're going to use the included crank handle here. We're going to go ahead and put that on the protruding stud, and we come down. We're going to come down, make contact with the pavement, maybe just a quarter turn more to shore everything up. You don't want to bear down on these too much. They're, again, not for leveling or anything like that. They are just for stabilizing the floor. And then same on the way up. You do not have to go overly tight with them. You can just snug them up. That'll make it a whole lot easier when you go to crank them down. So here at the rear, we're going to lift up the hatch, and that's going to expose the kitchen area. What we have here is going to be a 2-burner propane burning cooktop with a built-in igniter. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure your gas bottle is on up front, and then you hold this down for a spell, and as that propane is being extruded through the burner there, you just go ahead and rotate that, and that will go ahead and light right up there. We can see that sparker in play there. And you have a couple windshields here. When we are putting this all away, we'll make sure we fold those up nicely, and then that does fold down nice and neat. Also here in the rear, you of course have the 2 speakers there. The switch right beside the speaker is going to be for the water pump, and your water appliance or your sprayer or nozzle or whatever you want to think is going to be a quick connect fitting. There is a locking collar here. You'll go ahead and push that down, insert the male end fully there. That's going to go ahead and pressurize, and we can see we have some water there at the sprayer. Sink is plumbed directly, or is not plumbed to any sort of holding tank. So you will need a bucket down below to go ahead and catch any water that you are using there at the sink. And then beside that, we have your Coleman 12-volt cooler fridge. This works really well. Of course, you have a corresponding 12-volt socket here. This does get power immediately when it is plugged in. We know it's on because of the green light, and we can actually hear that run, and works extremely well. Beside that, we have your main GFI outlet. All the receptacles within the unit are on the same circuit, so if one of them gets overloaded, they all kind of follow suit. This is going to be your reset point here. So just like at home, if you were to not see that green light, that means that you are tripped or that they are not working. If we go ahead and push that center button, that's going to reset and resume power to the receptacles. Down here we have your secondary propane port or quick connect propane fitting. This is designed to tap into your main gas bottle up front and run any kind of secondary propane appliance. It is again going to utilize that quick connect fitting with that slide back lock collar. Go ahead and insert the male end fully, that'll snap back. And then in this case, we do have a valve that we would need to open, and with any valve, if you are with the flow you're on, against the flow is going to be off. Big thing is when not in use, make sure you go ahead and put that dust cover in there. That's going to keep any road debris from the appliance. And then we have your spare tire crank mount here actually, and the sticker is here in terms of direction. Spare tire is mounted on the underside. So that just about covers it here on the exterior of the 10SS. We're going to go ahead and open the door and take a look at those features on the inside. So one cool thing I do like about these Bushwhackers is if we go ahead and remove that other sleeping area, we can go ahead and lift this up, and you can see a tremendous amount of underbed storage there. So a really cool feature I do enjoy with these. So here we are on the interior of the Bushwhacker 10SS, and first thing up is going to be safety equipment. We're going to talk about your smoke alarm. This is a 9-volt smoke alarm, same variant you're going to find in your house. Make sure you're keeping an extra 9-volt battery with you in the event that you do need to change that on the road. And very important that we do test that every single time we take the unit out. One other thing we're going to be testing every single time we take the unit out is going to be your fire extinguisher. This is going to have a green test tab there on the top. If you push that test tab in and it springs back, that means there's pressure in the unit and it is ready to use. We also have your overhead lights here. All of the lights within the camper are going to be push button lens. So you're going to have a small center button again on each light fixture. We have a couple speakers there on the underside as well and a couple USB chargers. If we drop down, we do have a little bit of storage here at the front. Not much, but you get a ledge and you get a little slide door storage. And then if we move further here towards the door, we have your porch light switch. So that's going to be the outside porch light. And then we have your Dometic thermostat here. It does have an on-off button on the top. So if we turn that into the on position, this would actually be the rested position of the thermostat, but we can choose our comfort level here on the bottom. Thermostat blower motors furnace blower motor is going to come on immediately. 16 seconds after that, it ignites. By that 30-second mark, it should be producing noticeable heat. Now, right beside that cabinetry, we have your air conditioner here. Now, this air conditioner is a window AC, obviously, even though it is not in a window. Just like any other window AC, you generally will have a low fan and a high fan mode, and then a low cool and a high cool mode. It does have a replaceable filter. You're going to remove that from the right side. It is washable, so go ahead and rinse it out, let it dry before replacing. So here on the back wall of the camper, first up is we have a couple 15 amp outlets, nothing too crazy there. Right beside that, we have, again, another very important safety feature, which is going to be your carbon monoxide LP leak detector. You're going to find a test button on there. Unlike the smoke alarm, this is wired into the 12-volt section of the camper, so you don't have to worry about replacing a battery or anything like that. And again, with all other safety equipment, it is very important that we do test that every single time we take the unit out by pushing that main center button. So what we have here is going to be your kind of TV hookups. What we have on the roof is going to be a digital over-the-air television antenna. What this will allow you to do is pull a signal from, again, that over-the-air. Once we, of course, install a TV, and as long as this green light is on, that means that antenna is on. All we would do is a channel search, and that's going to bring in programming dependent on your signal. And then beside that, we have your blower motor for the furnace. All of your heat within the unit is going to come from this central location. Of course, in a unit of this size, you don't really have to worry about it being ducted or anything like that. It's going to get very warm in this unit very quickly. So next up, we have your Jensen stereo unit. This is going to give you access to not only AM/FM radio, but Bluetooth, as well as HDMI inlets, as well as a USB inlet. You do have two zones of speakers here. Zone A is, of course, going to be the inside speakers there at the front of the coach, and Zone B are going to be the exterior speakers in the kitchen area. You have volume up or down, skip there, and then we have some presets here along the bottom of the camper. And then moving over here to your WIFCO converter, this is going to be your power center essentially. Here on the left, we have our 110 volt appliances. Those are going to be on your standard resettable breaker. And then here on the right, we have your 12 volt appliances, which are going to utilize a replaceable fuse. So very important that you do keep a spare set of fuses. Here it looks like with this particular camper, you need some 15s, a 30, and a 40. Go ahead and keep a spare set of fuses with the unit, and that will allow you to replace them as needed. So above our heads here, we have a high-powered fan. This is a 12-volt appliance, so you can expect to have access to this if you are off-grid. So, of course, what we do is we crank it up, and if it's left in the on position, it's going to, of course, default to the last setting. It does have a pressure switch within the lid, so if you close the lid, it's going to turn off. You basically have a high, medium, and low, and this is, of course, an exhaust-only fan. The idea being is that you could open the door, you could open up this window. With that exhaust fan, that's going to allow you to get a nice cross breeze and move air throughout the unit. It does also have a replaceable bus-style fuse there. And then if we go ahead and turn it off, very important that we do go ahead and close the close the lid before we take the unit down the road. It's going to yank it right off of there if we do not. And then we have your emergency exit window here. Again, a very important thing to take note of. If for whatever reason your access to the unit were to be cut off on the passenger side of the unit, you could exit from this window. The idea being is that you would go ahead and yank the screen out of the way. And then this is going to open full out, kind of like a doggy door, allowing you again to exit the unit from that location. So that just about covers it here with the 10SS. We hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. If you do have any further questions or comments, don't hesitate to give us a call or comment down below. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. We're going to start down here as always, the loading and unloading procedures. As you can see, this camper rides on a 2-inch ball. So what you're going to do is you are going to slide that latch back.